Mobile, because they say it's the future, but it really is the present, and yet no media companies are really prepared. They have no mobile strategy. They're basically taking desktop stuff and cramming it into a mobile device without thinking about the mobile experience. So it's irrelevant to people who are using it at either at me moments or at instant need moments. So we're just not serving the customer needs on mobile. Data, you can't really decide what to do if you're not looking at the data that tells you what the readers are doing at a particular time of day and the type of content they're producing at that time of day. We're doing a lot of work with customers who we map their production cycle against the consumption cycle. And what we're finding is most newspapers and magazines don't match their production cycle to when the readers are online looking for information. So the readers are online or on their mobile looking for information, but the magazines are producing content much later in the day. Then when they go home, they stop producing, but then the readers are online until late at night, but nothing is fresh. Distributed platforms, the big debate over whether to put your stuff on a social media platform, in particular Facebook. We think it's a no-brainer. Facebook gives you access to audiences you would never get yourself. It's speedy, it's profitable, and they give you data. Apple News does not, Instagram does not, other platforms don't give you the data. So to us, it's a no-brainer. Go on Facebook. If it doesn't work, get off. You know, you're not tied for life, you're not married. And then the video, a lot of people are looking at video saying, wow, everybody's looking at video. Well, the trouble is, video is expensive to produce, it's complicated, and there's no guarantee of profit unless you look at video and say, okay, we're going to make this video, here are the sponsors we can get. Don't make it until we know we have a commitment. Okay. And you also don't need to spend a ton of money. And then the last thing, though, all the ideas in the world are absolutely useless if you don't create a culture in the company that is friendly to innovation. And you can't do that without empowering the staff to take risks. No staffer is crazy enough to go off and try something that might fail if he or she thinks that they're going to lose their job. But if the publisher, even the department head, you don't have to change the whole company, you can change the department, and that department head can say to his or her people, look, if you want to try this, go right ahead. The friction is much less because, for example, in the United States, 30,000 journalists have lost their jobs. So the remaining journalists look around and they say, okay, we get it, we'll change. There's still resistance because they're not comfortable with social media, they're not comfortable with changing the way, nobody is changing the way they do their business, right? But across the board in the world, we're seeing a lot more willingness to try something new. It's never easy. And particularly in a legacy organization where they've always done things the same way for many, many years, it's very hard to get people to change how they view themselves as a professional. When you think about it, what they do in their job is 8 hours of their day every 5 days a week. And you're saying to them, we're going to change your whole definition of yourself. If you don't get them involved in changing that definition, they won't do it. They'll fight you tooth and nail. But if you do, if you appeal to self-interest and say, look, you can become a much more marketable journalist. You're going to have more skills, video skills, audio skills, photo skills, and so on. You can go to your next job as a much higher paid multimedia journalist than just somebody who's doing text. Most companies we go into, every company we go into, we say, do you have a data analysis? Do you get data? Oh yeah, we get data. I say, every day. What do you do with it? Well, you know, I delete it. And if they read it, it's basically page views, maybe engage, but those are useless, worthless numbers. Any number by itself, not in comparison to another number, is pointless. And not seeing trends, what's the point? So what we say is, get a chief data scientist, borrow one from customer relations management 1 day a week, but get somebody in there and you tell them, look, we don't want page views alone. We want trends. We want you to come to every editorial meeting with a recommendation, a strategic change recommendation based on reader behavior that you see in the data. So they could say, okay, we've been following this. You could use your taxonomy to check and see what tags, what words are working, and say, look, we got to stop doing this. This is going nowhere. Nobody's clicking on this stuff and nobody's sharing this stuff, but we're seeing a trend over here, so let's do more with this. But that's the key, is if you don't use the data in an intelligent fashion,